Okay guys, so this is going to be your limits at infinity example problems. We've already done this earlier in the year. Your limit at infinity rules are your horizontal asymptote rules. So remember, if it's bottom heavy, it goes to 0. If they're the same coefficient, leading coefficient, you divide the leading exponents. And if it's top heavy, it's either going to go to positive infinity or negative infinity. Okay, so we're going to step through these examples and they're pretty easy. Okay, so the limit is x goes to infinity. Now you only use these rules whenever you're at limits at infinity. Okay, so I'm going to circle the highest power on top, 3x squared. Highest power on bottom is 5x squared. They're the same power, so we divide the leading coefficient, so you get 3/5. Nothing more to it. Okay, this one, highest power on top is this. The highest power on bottom is the 3x. Now, this is tricky, and this is why I wanted to do this one, is because if I take a square root of x squared, you get x, right? And so you're left with the same power top and bottom. So you'll end up dividing the leading coefficients, okay? So if you have a root, you look at the highest power underneath the root, and so we're taking a square root. So the square root of x squared is just x. So they'll end up being the same power on top and bottom. Highest power on top here is 6x. Highest power on bottom is 3x squared. So it's bottom heavy, so it's going to go to 0. Okay. Highest power on top here is x squared. Highest power on bottom is negative x. Okay. So when it's top heavy, we haven't seen this before. We're going to take the highest power on top, highest power on bottom, and we're going to divide it out. Okay. X squared divided by x is 1x, and then you're left with a negative on the outside. Now, if I pick a large number, say I picked 100 and plugged it in here, you would get a negative 100, right? So this thing's going to go to negative infinity. Okay, so whenever we're doing top heavy, bottom heavy rules, and it comes out to be top heavy, we look at the sign of whatever term we're looking, whatever's left over, okay? And if you're ever in doubt, plug in a number, okay? If we're going to negative infinity, you would plug in a negative number, just to see if it's going to positive infinity or negative infinity. Okay, the limit as x goes to negative infinity of x plus 2 over square root of 9x squared. Highest power on top is x. Highest power on bottom is going to be the 9x squared underneath the square root. Okay, so x over square root of 9 is 3. Square root of x squared is x. So it's going to go to 1/3. Okay. And then the limit as x goes to negative infinity of 1 minus x squared, 1 minus x squared over 2x squared minus 7. Highest power on top is the negative x squared. Don't forget that negative sign. And then 2x squared. So if they're the same power top and bottom, we're going to end up dividing the leading coefficients. So it's going to come out to be negative 1/2. Okay? So that's limits at infinity. You should be able to do this really quick. You already should know how to do it from our horizontal asymptote rules. Make sure you pay attention to the square root ones. I think I have put at least one of those on there. And if anything's top heavy, okay? So remember, if it's top heavy, you take the highest power on top, highest power on bottom, divide them out, and see if it's gonna, and you're gonna plug in, so we're going to positive infinity, so you're gonna plug in a positive number, okay? A negative times, we chose 100, was a negative 100. So this thing's gonna come out to be negative infinity. If this was just x squared over x, okay, it would divide out to be a positive x, and it would go to positive infinity. Okay, so that's limits at infinity. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks, bye.